Maybe you should have read and obeyed the sign. Back in the early days of COVID, when toilet paper was more valuable than gold and hand sanitizer had become its own form of currency, things got weird. The world was upside down, and everyone was doing their best to figure it out. I was working for a national pizza chain at the time, trying to keep up with the chaos while still dealing with customers who acted like they were somehow immune to both viruses and rules. Like many restaurants, our lobby had been closed to the public for safety reasons. We slapped a huge, impossible-to-miss sign right on the front window in big, bold letters: "Lobby closed. Please call with your order or for pickup." It was clear. It was polite. It was giant. And yet, as you might have guessed, it was also completely ignored. People would walk right past the sign, sometimes even reading it aloud as they entered, only to come barging in, as if the rules didn't apply to them. It was like they thought the sign was there for everyone else, not for important people like them, apparently. So I decided to have a little fun. At the time, the only place in town that still had hand sanitizer in stock was Dollar Tree. And let me tell you, whatever they were selling, it was not made with love and aloe. It smelled like a cocktail of burnt tires, spoiled gym socks, and something vaguely chemical. It was the kind of scent that hits your nose and immediately makes your eyes water, but it was cheap, effective, and readily available. So I bought a bottle and set it up, proudly, on a little stand right inside the lobby. This bottle was specifically for the rule breakers. Without fail, these bold and clueless customers would stride through the doors, completely ignoring the sign, and march up to the counter. I'd barely get a word in before they'd notice the sanitizer, and, like robots following a protocol, they'd instinctively pump a generous glob onto their hands. Maybe it was habit. Maybe they thought it made their unsanctioned visit more justifiable. And then came the moment I lived for. They would sniff their hands, every single time. It was like clockwork. A quick whiff, a pause, and then the reaction. Their faces would crumple in horror, eyes wide as the scent hit them like a truck. They'd let out a gag or a loud, "Oh God," or sometimes just freeze in place. I swear, some even forgot why they'd come in at all. One guy started to say, "Yes, I'll take a large hand," before stopping mid-sentence as he processed the smell. Meanwhile, I'd be behind the counter, reminding them, very kindly of course, that the lobby was closed and they needed to call the number on the sign they'd just walked past. That scent followed them out. Occasionally, someone would ask to use the restroom, presumably to wash off the stench, but I always had to deny them. The restrooms were off limits due to COVID precautions, which meant they were stuck with that delightful aroma. And I like to imagine them driving away, windows cracked, unable to escape it as they ate their pizza with hands that smelled like melted tires and sadness. It became a routine source of entertainment, a little bright spot in the middle of a frustrating shift. Each time someone ignored the sign, I didn't even get annoyed anymore. I just waited. Waited for the pump, waited for the sniff, waited for the gag, and then waited for that sweet moment of realization that they were being asked to leave anyway, now with a stench they couldn't immediately fix. It wasn't the kind of revenge that makes headlines. It wasn't even the kind that gets acknowledged, but it was the kind that makes you feel better on a long day. The kind that's quiet, harmless, and just annoying enough to make someone think twice the next time they try to ignore a sign on a door. Eventually, restrictions loosened, and we opened our lobby again. The bottle of Dollar Tree sanitizer sat untouched for weeks until it finally disappeared, but the memory of those confused, sniffing customers still makes me laugh.